Alrighty, beautiful people. Here we are back on the Virtus Performance Podcast. Can't even say the business name. Katie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. First question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Good one. You know what? Without being like cliche, I think just being healthy and always wanting to reach your best health. I love that. I'm obsessed by that. Yeah.
Have you always been obsessed with health?
I've always been into it. Yeah. Probably not obsessed,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've just always sort of been drawn to it.
What is it about, actually, what is your definition of health? What is health to you? When you say, I want to be healthy or I want to promote health, what is that? What does it look like?
Well, probably not obsessive, as I said. That's not a good
Let's
start
change
for
that
health.
word. We'll talk about that.
I think for me what's really important is to have a really good balance in life, and diet and exercise and all aspects of it. I really think it does come down to balance. I think that's how you feel the best, look the best, are the best.
Yeah.
Is that it in a nutshell? Do we go more?
I think so. No, I think that's a really good definition because it it allows you to do. It's almost like a baseline or a baseline framework to allow you to live your best life and to do what you want to do.
I mean, to be fair, I would say when it comes to diet, I would probably be more like 80-20 rule. When it comes to exercise, probably quite similar.
Yeah.
When it comes to lifestyle, routines and things are great, but I also allow like flexibility too. So that's really it across the board.
Yeah. How has health manifested itself in your life to get you to the point where you are now?
I think I probably started off on my path. So I'm a qualified naturopath, and I have 2 qualifications in naturopathy. And I think I ended up there because as a child with certain illnesses that were misdiagnosed medically, unfortunately, I was able to find the right help through natural medicine and different naturopaths. So that sort of spiked my introduction to naturopaths, natural medicine, and all the alternative options that are available. And I guess that's sort of how I pursued it. In high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
No one does.
Like careers coordinator,
how
meetings with
crazy
Walshy.
are those conversations?
Yeah, no idea.
Shout out to Walshy if you're watching.
I know.
We did okay.
Know. She used to live in my street, by the way. I don't know if she's still there.
She's a star.
Yeah. But no, oh God, they pull out the quiz, what are your skills and all the rest of it, and it's like, oh, you could be a good nurse, and you could be a physio, or I could be a teacher. So that's what I got into. I got into a double degree in primary and high school education, and I deferred. I think I was sort of interested, but I think didn't really know. Just wasn't.
Did you go straight from high school to uni?
Yeah, well, I went to TAFE. Yep. That's what I ended up choosing. So I ended up going and doing an Advanced Diploma in Naturopathy.
Yeah, so you went straight away.
Yeah. In hindsight, probably would have taken a gap year, got some life skills behind me.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I first qualified as a naturopath when I had just turned 21.
Yeah, wow.
I think life experience when it comes to treating health conditions is so important.
Yep.
And I would see clients back then that were like postmenopausal. I couldn't relate. It was hard enough trying to relate to women who were like wanting to conceive. So then there's about a 10-year period in between that time and my second my degree qualification, and I've learned a lot since then. Like I can talk to postmenopausal women and be like, okay, like can't personally relate, but I understand what's going on for you.
Yeah, one of the almost like principles that we built this place on is like you can't give what you haven't, or you can't share what you haven't experienced, and can't give what you haven't got. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go through that thing, but spending time with people who have and learning from their shared experience kind of helps you build your understanding and your knowledge base to then be able to help, right? Because you don't have to have gone through the same thing.
I love that. I feel like you're the king of quotes, by the way.
The way I look at quotes is like they're like a framework for living the life I want to live. So when I run into a gap of like what I need to do here or how do I want to be, I just lean on people that are way smarter and have done way more than me or lived thousands of years ago or whatever.
I've got like a quote list on my computer that I hear things and save them here and there. But yeah, otherwise I can resonate with quotes when I hear them, love them, in one ear, out the other. So,
yeah, I reckon I've got like 10, 15 that are just like embedded into my psyche that just force me to do things that I know I should do that I don't want to do. And I like, there's one that we've got on the wall down here, standards we walk past, the standards we accept.
I like
so
it.
whenever
I thought you were going to say the other one, the good people, good
things with good people. Yeah. That's up there. But whenever I walk past a piece of rubbish on the ground, like sometimes I'll walk past it and then that quote, my brain will just, my subconscious will just go like, standards you walk past, and I'll have to go back and get it, and I'm like, fuck, I hate myself.
No,
but also,
it makes you better.
It's a good thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I love quotes. But this isn't about me, this is about you.
Alrighty.
So for the people playing at home, what is a naturopath?
So a naturopath is similar to a holistic, say, doctor. Not a doctor qualification, but what you would see a naturopath for is basically any health condition. And the type of treatment you can expect from a naturopath, and we all work very differently. But for myself, for example, would include diet advice first and foremost, lifestyle advice always. I think everyone can improve those aspects in their life. Sometimes supplement advice if it comes to like nutritional deficiencies, or if they need adrenal support or hormonal support or whatever it may be. But yeah, just a holistic view on sort of trying to find the cause of the symptoms. So not just giving, here's a Band-Aid for your cut, but
the reason for
why are you cutting easily, or that was a really bad example. But
I mean, we'll work on the analogies. We'll get there. So talk me through. We'll talk about like your principles around your practice and how you do it and what it looks like, kind of as we go. But let's talk about through your journey. So you did the cert, and then you went to uni.
So I did the Advanced Diploma, graduated when I was 21. My work experience straight from there, I immediately got a job with another local naturopath. I don't want to complain.
No, go on.
Okay.
We had a conversation pre-podcast where Katie was like, I don't want to be the guest that just complains, but I want to find a way to articulate how things didn't go the way I wanted it to.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you think Katie's complaining, throw in the hate mail now. But no, tell it how you want to tell it.
Okay, so I went and got this job with a local naturopath, and the agreement was basically like a mentorship. She, when she was at my stage, said that she had an amazing mentor that taught her the ropes, and she learnt so much through that experience. So it was something that she wanted to give back and do. So for me, I was like, wow, hit the ground running. Yeah. This is awesome. So then I got in, and then the agreement sort of was like, even though you're qualified, I don't want you in my clinic giving people advice without me signing off on it. So I was like, okay, that's pretty strict, but at the same time, how good that I can have all my work proofread by this mentor. Like, I'll learn so much. Anyway, it all fizzled out pretty quickly because she was unavailable to meet to approve my work. So then my patients were left waiting, and I just felt so terrible. But then once I did meet with her, she was like, I don't understand why you need me for all this. Like, you can't do anything yourself. This isn't working out.
Wow.
So I left that place.
Careful what you wish for.
And I left, and it really was like, if that happened now, I would feel totally different about it. I'd probably walk away and be like, oh my God, like whatever.
Yeah, well, you probably wouldn't sign up for it in the first place, that way, right? No,
that's it. But at the time, I'd only just turned 21, and like I just didn't have that life experience or confidence, and it really just shook like my confidence out of me as a fledgling naturopath. So then I thought, oh, right, like maybe I'm not meant to do this. And I took that with me. And then I started doing more of what I thought I was good at, which was the nutrition side of it. And I think I am good at nutrition. I think I'm also a great naturopath, but I think my passion sort of wore thin over the years for nutrition, because a lot of people seek help with nutrition for dieting purposes, whereas I use nutrition as medicine, and I love that aspect to it. And there's no issue with either one. It's just that my passion is to use nutrition holistically and to help heal and to get the best out of people, not to be on like a super depleting, cutting, calorie deficit bodybuilding type of thing.
Yep.
So anyway, I went on and did that, and it lasted a few years, and I was so busy doing it, and it basically all became online, which at that stage was great because I had no overheads, and I guess that sort of was the start of my stepping stone to get into all the fitness modelling and the competitions that I was doing, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah, what was that like? Because obviously you've like the fitness models and modeling and the competitions. There's the element of the depletion diet, and and obviously there's the two sides of it, right? There's the surplus and there's the deficit sides and changes depending on where you're at and when your comps are and all those kind of things. What was that like doing that, but then also in practice, kind of doing the opposite in a way in terms of how you're.
Yeah, I think this is where I was really lucky with my competition history. And I mean that, like, when I say, I think I was lucky, people go, oh, no, it wasn't luck, like you worked hard. Yeah. Yes, I did, but I also was very lucky at that point in time. I did 24 competitions.
Yeah, wow.
And I placed in every single one. And if I did that now, I would not place in probably any of them. Yeah. Because at the time when I was competing, I was the look that the judges were going for. Today's standards, I'm not, and that's okay.
Fascinating how the goalposts move, and it could give you a complete
it can move overnight.
I guess the judges there, and that's the thing with effectively a subjective sport. You're just it's determined by the judges. Yeah, it's fascinating.
But in terms of where I say I was lucky, what I liked about that was I was able to do it and do well through that period of time. And not have to deplete the way other athletes were going to like crazy extents. So I would basically eat well, I'd exercise every day, and I'd sleep well, and I had a pretty healthy, balanced life, and I did well. Yeah, awesome. So that's why I think I was lucky. Yeah. If I did that today, I would probably place last, but that's fine, and that's why I don't do it anymore. Not because I'm not what they're after, but I don't want to go to that next level of depletion. And I see many of my patients who are competitors, both male and female, but say in particularly female, who have lost their menstrual cycle, or even post-comp, they might have not competed for 18 months and they still haven't got it back. But, they've started growing hair on their face, or they've got really bad acne, and I don't want that for me. And part of why I loved it so much is I felt that I was setting a really good example to be able to bring health to the fitness industry. To me, health and fitness are combined. Unfortunately in
the real world, I think they're two different things, right? Like you go to the fitness expos and you're like, well, like this isn't what most holistic coaches or professionals would deem health.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it? What if you could go back, and obviously you were promoting this then by what you were doing, but if you could go back and kind of tell yourself and the rest of the population that were there back then with all you know now, what would you tell them? If you could have a billboard in front of them all and they could sit there and read a message, what would that message be?
Oh, you know what? I sort of know the message without being able to articulate it into one sentence. Yeah. I think
it's a big billboard.
It's a huge billboard. It's like a whole novel. I think one of the biggest things that can really affect people in that particular industry is how you mentioned the goalposts can change so far. That can change overnight or from one weekend to the next. Like you can compete at a state competition and win, and then you can do nationals the next day or the next weekend and not even get a look in.
So you can present exactly the same.
If not better. And they'll be like, oh, it wasn't what you're after. We wanted today. Crazy. And that's the sport. But that has a huge mental impact on many, many people. And I think just to be able to sort of shake people and wake them up and go, come on, like one day when you're not doing this, you'll look back and realise that the emotional roller coaster that goes with it is not healthy. It's actually so detrimental. I think that's the biggest learning curve there, among many other things like, performance enhancing drugs and,
What was it like being in a world that obviously there's such a grey area between the performance enhancing drugs and then the natural and it's obviously there's tested and untested federations and different competitions and things, but what was it like kind of not knowing or not being able to control what other people are doing when it's a competition that's subjective, because
Yeah.
it's almost like a melting pot of of physical and mental, potential physical and mental trauma.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I competed in all the federations, so both natural and untested. Well, untested. I mean, I never got tested even at natural shows. And I was always hand on heart a natural athlete. And I prided myself in that, to be able to compete against open events or in open events against potentially
people
athletes
that were doing
on
other things.
whatever they might be on, and be able to maintain my own. I don't know what the question was now.
I can't remember either. How did that time as an athlete shape what you do now?
I think having that first-hand experience in, I mean, like I said, I didn't go to any extreme depletions with diet compared to other people, but I definitely was put more into it than, the average day of eating type of thing. So I think having that personal experience has really shaped me to be able to relate and help my patients now. And
being in that world, did you meet people, spend time with people, create relationships with people who were going to that, the end of the
almost everyone.
limit?
Almost everyone.
Yeah. So what did you learn from how you saw them do it and how they maybe presented?
Well, I think that's sort of the sad part. Like, sometimes doing what they might have thought was everything they needed to be the best, sometimes, well, a lot of the time didn't really work, not only for their own health, but like it's not actually always cracked up what they might have thought it might be. So I think that's sort of sad, like to do all these things on a whim and take this and inject that and supplement this and, starve yourself here and whatever they were doing. There's so many different things people did. But I think that's just the sad part, because these things can have pretty bad repercussions and long term, like not just always a quick fix. Like I said, I have patients who haven't competed for 18 months and still don't have their cycle back or have started growing like facial hair. So I always looked at health as like long-term sustainable, like capacity building, right? You want to be able to be and do more. And absolutely,
that juxtaposition between health and fitness fascinates me, because for majority of the population that like don't live in the world that we live in terms of we do this every day, the first thing when you talk about fitness, they think of that. They think of bodybuilding. They think of being lean, being shredded, being superficial. It's the superficial stuff. Whereas long-term health and well-being is not that world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you obviously competed for a lot of years, and then what did your practice look like while you're competing, and then when you finished up?
So I sort of stopped practicing as a naturopath when I left that clinic first off. I still incorporated it into like my nutrition plans, but I really went down the healthy eating nutrition plan writing programs world for some time. Over those years I worked alongside health food stores, sports supplement stores, gyms, like operating gyms. I owned a gym, and then it wasn't until like the week before COVID where I was in a workplace that became quite sleazy and I was over it. I didn't stand for any of it whatsoever, and I thought, right, that's it. With the help of my partner, I formulated a really satisfying resignation, and that was it. And then I decided, right, I'm going to enroll in the Bachelor of Health Science Naturopathy.
Huge.
It was only 8 subjects to complete upon my prior study.
Done,
so it was only meant to take 12 months. Awesome. Then COVID hit. It took 2 years, which is fine. But
perfect timing, the length of what the lockdowns lasted for.
I had no excuse other than to study. Then I graduated there and opened my business purely up until this stage has been via Zoom consults. That's worked really well for me because it's quick and efficient, and I still feel like I build such a great rapport with my patients. And I think people can sometimes be hesitant to book an appointment when it's on Zoom because they feel like, oh no, they won't be able to relate to me. But I know that aspect doesn't lack in my online clinic. So
I think if you dial into a Zoom and you're actually like your eyeballs are on the screen, there's nothing else going on, you don't have your phone on you, like it's almost you almost take away the normal world of of distractions away from you, and you just dial into that, what's happening then.
And I'm not there just to have a meeting and have a chat and be distracted. Like, I'm completely honed in on finding out your entire health history. Like, I want to know you and how I can help you. So, anyway, I think COVID did help in terms of telehealth. Like, people are more familiar with that.
People know how to use QR codes now.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing since.
Yeah, awesome. So what are the principles that over your journey you've kind of stuck with to help build your practice? What are if you were to elevator pitch us your business and what you do and what you think is important, what are they?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't really thought too much about that and what applies to me personally in my practice. I think so much of my education is naturopathic principles and philosophies, such as first do no harm, treat the whole person, which basically means, obviously don't do any harm, never implement something that will make someone worse before better. Treat the whole person, meaning don't just cover up the symptomatic picture, find out what's going on. The doctor is teacher, meaning teach your patient along the way. I think those things really resonate with me, and for how I operate in my clinic. I really do want to, the perfect patient for me is someone who's long-term in terms of they see me, I help them for a couple of consults and then off they go on their merry way, and they're long-term as in a couple of years' time when they have something else that's popped up, they'll come back to me. But I don't want to see you for every week for the next 2 years.
Go experiencing and learn and build your own understanding and knowledge.
Yeah.
Long-term games with long-term people, that's what we're here for.
Oh, king of quotes.
Yeah, it's a good book called Infinite Games.
Yes.
Awesome. So what are the do your clientele look like at the moment? Do you see a particular group of people, or are you a bit more general and holistic?
I like to think of myself as a generalist in terms of I don't specify in any particular area. I like to delve into all aspects of health for all different types of patients. That being said, I do draw in 20 to 30-year-old females with hormonal imbalance or skin issues or gut health issues, and that's probably because I am a young woman who they probably feel they can relate to, and that's probably the type of content I've put up occasionally. Into I think gut health is huge, and a lot of people can relate to that. So that's probably a big part of my patients. At the same time, I see women who are wanting to conceive, partners who have previously been told that they're infertile, and we sort of help them to not be. I see males as well. I see women for menopause, postmenopause. I've treated kids. So, I do have a broad range of clientele, but
it's always that bell curve, right? You have,
Yeah.
What let's talk about some of those issues you mentioned. So gut health, what are the 2 or 3 bullet points that you wish everyone knew and that you commonly see? What issues you commonly see come up?
I wish everyone knew that food is medicine.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Yes. I'm going to print that off for a quote for you downstairs. Perfect. You can hang that up.
Perfect. I'll whack it up on the wall.
Look, what I see a lot of is IBS, which is BS diagnosis.
It's just a blanket term, right?
It's a syndrome.
Shin splints or...
a syndrome. It's we don't know what's going on with you, so we'll give you this label.
Yeah.
There's always a cause for it, and I think something I find frustrating, not particularly with my patients, but more so with their opinion of, oh no, that won't work for me. I've tried everything, nothing works. In my opinion... Okay, sure, credit to you, you've tried a lot of things, but the things you've tried have not been effective for you because you haven't found the right thing yet.
Or you haven't done it properly, or you haven't done it long enough,
so
or
many
something
variables.
along those lines, right?
Yeah. I see so many IBS diagnosis, which is rubbish, which generally consist of gut aches, pains, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, or both. And that's probably it in a nutshell. Bloating, uncomfortable pain.
It's pretty common.
Yeah, I mean...
Not normal, but common.
No, absolutely not normal. Not normal. Should not be just accepted. But bloody hell, is it common?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of your studies, where do you go to learn about gut health and learn about all of the causative factors and all of the treatments and things like that?
So I research a lot of like studies through PubMed. They can be really helpful, but I'm also open-minded that I know sometimes that you can probably find a study to back any
100%.
argument, right? So, definitely helpful, but it's not my only go-to. I listen to many health podcasts. Shout out to ATP. Love their podcasts. Yeah.
And there's shout out button.
Yeah. Like,
we used to have a bell. I don't know where the bell is.
Is that what it would be? That would be a good sound.
We used to have a bell. And I'll find a shout out bell.
Ding.
That's it for a later job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like podcasts. I've got some great textbooks, but that probably goes back to my education because that's where I source those from. And there are some sort of databases that I have subscriptions to, which have a lot of scientific research that back their like all the evidence-based ingredients, and that's really, really helpful. And then I also do like a lot of webinars. I'd probably do a webinar once or twice a week.
Awesome.
To just keep updating.
Like filling the cup in terms of like what you're learning.
And look, I mean, I think you can never stop learning, and probably about any industry, but I think when it comes to health, there's so many different...
There's an infinite amount of ways to approach any simple thing.
Yeah, like what's the saying about skinning a cat or something?
I was thinking that, but I was like, I don't want to talk about skinning cats. No. Many roads lead to Rome. Let's go with that one.
Oh, that's nice.
I think every road leads to Rome if you want to travel long enough.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a fascinating... And something that I've looked at my practice and my coaching and how that's evolved and changed over the years. And I kind of get to the point now where I'm like, well, none of it really matters. Like what you do doesn't matter as long as you're enjoying it, as long as you're making progress, and as long as you're not going backwards and not making you worse or doing harm.
Yeah. And I think I read something the other day, and it sort of was like similar to what you're saying, like not going backwards, not doing harm. And it was basically just trying to clarify the difference between having an opinion because it's definitely scientifically backed, or having an opinion because anecdotally that's what you found has worked for you or your patients, or just what you believe in. And there's no harm in that. There's no harm in saying like, I like to do this because I've found it works, but you don't need to always say, oh, this is the only way to do it.
But when you mentioned that, you can find a journal article that can back up pretty much any claim that you want. So we end up kind of just, cherry picking the studies that work for us that back up our ideas and ignore the others. But at the end of the day, life is so much more. There's so many more grey areas than that. And I like the idea or the thought process of like everything I know and believe right now is going to be proven wrong at some point. Because like you look at different times in your life when you thought something was 100% truth, and you kind of look back and like, "Fuck, I was an idiot," and you can kind of go through most of our core beliefs and look at it that way, and even the way that if we look at a simple health example, it's like fat was the enemy, then sugar was the enemy, then everything has had its time.
Smoking was good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's had its time being the enemy, and if we approach all of our current belief systems like that, and go, well, it's probably going to be proven wrong in a year, a decade, 30 years. It's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of go, well, we do this, and like I look at the way we coach, it's changed and it's adapted so much over the last 7 or so years since we've been in here. And I look at it now and go, well, in 2 years, hopefully we're going to look at the way we do things now. We're like, fuck, we were dumb, we were missing the boat, or there was different things. But at the end of the day, all you can do is kind of take anecdotal evidence, take your own experiential learning, take the scientific literature of what it's telling us, take it all that, mix it all up.
Do what works for you.
Take it with a grain of salt and do something you enjoy. Because, I think too many people in our industry, and that's health and fitness and performance industry, just take things way too seriously. And live and die by the sword of a particular method. Whereas at the end of the day,
it's a bit defensive.
Yeah, we want to be led by the evidence, and we want to be evidence led, but we want to be based on principles that are experiential, I think.
And when it comes to reflecting on like the changes you guys have made here and the way you train people and coach and things, do you find that you're your worst critic?
Yeah, in a way, but I kind of know that, well, there's nothing I can do about what we used to do.
But do you think like anyone, like any of your clientele here would be like completely on the same page with you?
No way.
Like, oh yeah, like the way you did that then was like, what was I thinking? Whereas you were probably
because
like,
I can say, well, this is what I did this because of this, right?
Yeah.
So I think because we're all very different coaches in terms of our team, and we kind of have, I guess, our Virtus values and our principles that allow us to do things differently but the same in that. And at the end of the day, if we can justify what we do and why we do it with our current level of understanding, when we level up, we transcend what we did and still include that, but then we kind of add more, right? Adding layers and adding quality, and I have no doubt it's exactly the same for your practice. It's like if you jump on a webinar tonight and learn something, you're like, well, that doesn't disregard everything you've learned. You're adding something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big part of growing, personal growth, business growth.
Yeah.
Not only for our industries, but
I think it's being aware of like your biases and your personal like the recency bias is one that fascinates me. It's like if you listen to a webinar tonight, there's a very good chance that you're going to start seeing that thing that webinar is on in every one of your clients over the next couple of weeks.
It's very true.
And it's just
like when you buy a new car and then you see that car everywhere.
This is it. It's just so like I don't know, I look at what we do and none of it matters, but it all matters. It's kind of that.
Yeah.
It's both of those things, but if you take yourself less seriously and kind of go, well, just do your best. Do it for the right reasons, then you just get to show up every day and make a difference.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Love that. I love when people agree with me. It doesn't happen very often. What's the actually, we were talking about the different areas before. So we had a little chat about gut health. Talk to me about conception and what you've learnt through study and through your clients over the last few years.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of parts to that. So people who have come to me who have just wanted to get in the best shape and health possible before trying to conceive. And that's more so about just having some blood tests run, have a look at their nutrient status, and get them on the optimum end of healthy to start off that process. And that's really enjoyable and quite straightforward. And then there's the other aspect where maybe a couple who could have struggled to conceive or been told that the only options are IVF or things like this. And some frustrations or sort of like roadblocks I've seen along the way have more so been like, okay, they might not actually be infertile, but like maybe the woman has polycystic ovaries that's undiagnosed, and rather than just using diet as intervention and increasing insulin sensitivity and maybe losing some weight and balancing out the hormones, they've just sort of been offered IVF as a treatment, which is so expensive and not a guaranteed solution. So I think for me, I kind of like, I lose a bit of faith when I hear that this has happened to people, because I think, God, if only you knew that if you improve your diet and lost weight, you would have a far better chance. And I mean, what would you prefer to spend your money on? I mean, how much is the cost of IVF these days?
Yeah. It's almost like the IVF, I guess, would be looked upon as the easier, as the not so much the easier option, but it's more of a quick fix. It's more of
it's a big money maker.
It's the Band-Aid. It's the you kind of you miss the forest for the trees a little bit, and you go, well, let's just ignore all that, and I guess you could say that for almost any medical or performance changes you're trying to make, right? Like most people miss the simple shit. Are you sleeping 8 hours a night? Are you drinking 3 litres of water?
And don't get me wrong, I mean, it certainly has its time and place, absolutely. But I just feel disheartened when I see someone who isn't educated about the basics, but sold something really expensive, because that's not good for them. And it's not even guaranteed. So why don't we just get them healthy.
It is an interesting one because so many people would go, well, it's not working. It's been 18 months. Let's go to an IVF
But
specialist.
then that's different for everyone. Like what's not working for some
exactly.
people, a couple that could be really healthy and genuinely doing everything that needs to be done, or it's not working because a very unhealthy, overweight couple have been trying, but they're only doing the motion. They're not doing the lifestyles. So, you know what I mean? Like that scenario is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And no shame on IVF. I'm not complaining.
I mean, it's a brilliant,
it has its time and place.
It's a brilliant tool, but it's a tool in the toolbox.
I just want everyone to be healthy.
Yes. There you go. There's full circle for you. And because I find it fascinating because, you know, talking to friends that are trying and have been trying for a long time, and like we were really lucky that the girls happen way too easily.
Yeah.
But it was, we didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. Look, I think a really important part when you are at that stage is to have the blood test done.
Yeah.
Check the like your nutrient status.
Yeah.
And this is something that I guess is a bit of a controversial opinion, but it's my controversial opinion. And I think the normal ranges on blood tests are far too broad, and I think they're based on the average or sick population. A big, large study of people, big group of people that are in pretty shitty health and maybe just like average health, and they go, that's a normal range. Yeah. I don't want to be normal with them, and I don't want my patients to fall in that group.
Top end of normal should be baseline.
Yeah. So I think that's my opinion and my goal with all of that. Like if you're told your range is here, quite often I'll say, right, that's good. I want you here.
Yep.
And there's good reason for that. And I guarantee I know my patients feel better when they're at this level compared to this level.
Yeah.
So
what's if someone comes to you with trouble, they're having trouble conceiving, what is the process you take them through? So the blood tests, you obviously do some lifestyle stuff.
Yeah. And look, to be honest, that's the biggest part of it.
Yep.
The bloods would include, say, like the most common nutrients like iron levels, because your iron, females can be more commonly deficient or on the lower end compared to males anyway, but then carrying a pregnancy, the iron levels deplete anyway. So to be on a really high, healthy range of that, vitamin D, the last couple of years through lockdown being inside and everything, and we're also in Victoria, so like we're so far
Tell
low.
you what, some less La Nina would be great.
Yeah.
And some sunshine.
So basically all of us should be supplementing vitamin D over the winter months because even if we're outdoors, we just don't get enough. So B12, zinc levels, but even for males as well, especially for males, that would be probably my most common nutrients to test for in a blood test. Lifestyle advice really comes down to the nervous system and quality sleep and de-stress. Like, how many miracle stories do you hear about people conceiving once they stopped trying so actively and stopped stressing about it, right?
Yes.
And then when it comes to supplements, look, everyone is individual, so it's there's no blanket rule. But I guess the things I would look for would be like, do they have enough choline? Do they have enough folate? Just these nutrients that are really specific for fetal development and early stages, just to make sure that they're already in the system.
The things that can potentially, if you're at the right level, can prevent miscarriages and things like that.
Yep. And that's it. It's quite straightforward, and it's again that's not guaranteed to always have success. Nothing is, but at least you feel better. You'll be happier and healthier.
Yeah, it's like when we have new members in here, it's similar-ish conversation. We don't do the bloods side of things unless there's something glaringly obvious, glaringly wrong. But that conversation around like, all right, here's what's controllable, here's what's not. What's not controllable is the outcome. It's the losing, like it's the being at a certain weight, it's the conceiving, it's the reaching a certain performance metric. What is controllable is 8 hours sleep. It's drinking your water. It's finding ways to de-stress. It's
and those things
cultivate,
are huge,
and,
right?
It's because we and it's similar to what we were talking about before, but our industry, everyone argues over the little details that don't really matter,
the frivolities,
and kind of just forget that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you train as long as you're enjoying it, you get good sleep, you get nutrition, you're going to move the needle, you're going to make improvements.
Oh, ovulation. Sorry, that was the other key thing. That's the major thing that you need to ensure is happening. Anyway, back over to you.
You just threw ovulation at me just now. I completely forgot what I was going to say.
That's essential to conceive. You have to make sure you're ovulating.
Yeah. So talk me through...
you personally, but yeah.
I mean, I hope not. Talk me through your process when you have your first consult with a new client. Do you patient? Client?
Oh, I say both.
Yeah,
I don't know what's...
A new human. When you have a new human in front of you, what's your process? Because I guess talking before about people not necessarily wanting to get on Zoom calls or not necessarily wanting to, making that step to join a gym or see a naturopath or go see a GP or see a psych is difficult.
It is.
It's a barrier, and we want to be able to break down those barriers. So, can you give us an insight into what your process is?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I probably have, even though, as I say, I treat everyone as an individual, I probably have a very similar start of consult rollout that takes place, and it's, hi, how are you? Introduce yourself.
Everyone's a unique snowflake, but at the end of the day, we're all pretty much the same.
It's very cute. I want to know, have you seen a naturopath before? And that will give me insight into their expectations from the consult. And then I explain basically the rollout of how I like to run my consult, which I will spend the next allocated amount of time asking so many weird and wonderful questions. And I'll say, although I'm looking over here and then here at my computer, you have my undivided attention. I'm like, you're here. And when I'm over here, I'm taking notes. And then I explain what you can expect from this is guaranteed diet and lifestyle advice. And depending on your case, perhaps supplement advice or something else. And sometimes a referral for more testing, whether it be like blood test or poo test or whatever it might be. And then, I basically have the same explanation of, following the consult, I'll go away and formulate a tailored plan and then email that over to them so that they have a copy to it and we can both access it and edit it at the same time. And then I jump straight into it. And what brings you here today? No, I don't say that. Oh, I don't say that.
Tell me how you feel about that.
How does that make you
feel? It's a great insight. And so what is if I was to come see you, what does the first 3 months look like?
Oh, I mean...
And obviously saying this from in a general perspective, because obviously it's different for each person, but if you could blanket it.
I can't. I actually can't blanket that. And the reason being is there are many patients I don't even see for 3 months' time. I might see for 1 or 2 consults, and then the interventions that we've added have been really helpful, and they go away, and they might come back in 12 months.
Yeah, awesome.
Or not, or they might come back for something else. So I actually can't.
So it's kind of you do a consult or a couple of consults, and then it's kind of
and some people I see,
here's the boxes to tick.
And look, there are people who say if it comes to like a hormonal imbalance, something like that, I'll probably see for a minimum 3 months, and that's because working with hormones can take so much longer to balance out. And say, especially with females, a big indicator to monitor whether the intervention's helpful or effective or not effective is based on their menstrual cycle, which is monthly, and it takes a few months to get a gauge on if the average is changing so it's generally patients like that I'll see for probably up to that time frame, maybe a bit longer. But if I'm seeing you consecutively for that long for the same thing, I'm not helping you.
So you're really clear on at the start, like what do you want to achieve? What does that look like? Where are you now? And then you're making sure that you're objectively getting to those places.
Don't get me wrong, financially, that would be great if all my patients saw me once a month, every month, or however long, ongoing. But it's just not the reality of it.
I mean, and that's kind of the way I look at like the allied health world. That's the way we want it to be. We want it to be on a needs basis rather than, like one thing that grinds my gears in our industry and like rehab and things like that is physios are like, yep, I'll see you next week. Yep, I'll see you next week. Yep, I'll see you next week. Like if you're not moving the needle and actively seeing improvements in this person, then or you're kind of just justifying your job and you just give them a little massage and make them feel good for the moment. Like,
See, I just, I feel that that's wrong. But I also just don't find it satisfying as a practitioner. So
there's time and place for consistent
Totally. And I think a big part of something I would say would be like nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah.
And when it comes to supplementation, generally by the time someone seeks a naturopath because they're feeling so crappy, is they need a supplement to help bump up their nutrition status because it's been ongoing for years. So in that case, I would implement a supplement, but my goal is not to have someone on that supplement for the rest of their life. Once they're in a healthy level, say if it's vitamin B12, I want to teach you all the diet and lifestyle things that you can do to then, once you get to a healthy level, come off the supplement and manage it through your diet and lifestyle. Or it might be iron or vitamin D or whatever. So that's my long-term goal. And
in here we want to create self-managed humans, and it sounds like your views are pretty similar.
I just dropped my water
it's all
on me.
good. We're going to zoom into that bit. Creating self-managed humans is, for us, kind of our goal, right? We want people to want to train here because of the people and because of the community and maybe because of the programming. But at the end of the day, if someone has to move away and go to another gym or look after their health and well-being themselves, you want them to be able to do that because all that does is, we spoke about like a baseline and build framework before. All it does is it gives them a bigger base to build on and to be able to do and be more. Sure, it's great being able to pick up a deadlift, but at the end of the day, being able to chase after your kids and run around and go on hikes and do cool shit outside of here, that's why we train.
Totally. I think I said before, like the perfect client for me is someone who comes along, we work short term on what needs to be done, and then they find a resolution, they're happy, they go away, and then I'll see them next time, which could be 10 years down the track for another issue because they've chosen to come back to me to help them. And that is the perfect client for me because that, I think, is the most rewarding. I think I can continue to develop my skills on something new and not prolong and waste someone's time. So
awesome. And this is a big ambiguous question, but what does the future look like for you and your practice?
Yes, well, I will be diving into face-to-face consults coming soon.
Awesome.
I hope that is a really lovely, nice experience. Because as I mentioned, the first time around when I did it a long, long time ago, it wasn't. So I'm really actually looking forward to that. Cool. And those consults will, essentially what patients will get out of it is the same questioning and everything, working on the same types of things they come in for. But the difference between a Zoom and a face-to-face is I can then do blood pressure, I can do iridology, I can do physical examinations if required. So they will be a longer consult and, if it is something that is relating to like a physical component that needs to be looked at, that will be a lot more helpful. So that's probably what's coming up next. Otherwise, nothing too major. I just really want to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I love, what was the first question? What gets me out of bed in the morning? I love what I do. I love health for myself and I love being able to teach that and help other people improve their health and see. I think the most rewarding part is when they go like, oh wow, like I did this small change and I just feel better. Like that makes me happy.
It is that.
Yeah, and you can relate to that totally.
Yeah, it ceases when you have those moments. It ceases to be about like, the big picture, the growth stuff, and it's just like, well, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to help people get from where they are to where they want to be.
It's nice.
And then you empower people to take control of their life and their health and what they're able to do, which is nothing better. Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Any more? No. Any? So how do people, if people want to see you, if people want to book consults, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, well, good question. I don't have a website or anything just yet. Hey, hit me up if you're tech savvy and you know what to do because I sure don't. Look, I just have an online booking link where people can book in and prepay for their consults.
I'll whack all those in the notes and
things. Thank you.
It's
currently just my main platform's Instagram, but also on Facebook, just Katie Jane Health. That's me.
Awesome.
But yeah, if anyone has any questions, like, this is what I see a lot of. Like, a lot of people just book straight in, which is great and really straightforward and easy, ideal. But yeah, some people do message and go, I've been struggling with this. Is this something you can help with? And if that's you and you need to have that clarified, reach out and ask because, no harm done.
Awesome. Love your work.
Thank you.
Oh, it's not working.
The yellow button.
Have a good day.
Oh.
Be amazing.